The best way that we can go about thinking about this is thinking about what happened in India in June of 2020 when India banned TikTok. So essentially what we saw was huge gains for Instagram in particular in terms of active users, but also on an absolute basis for YouTube. And to step up, one step back, the reason is we've seen a huge growth in the popularity of short form video. Based on our data, users spend about 350 million hours per day on short form video versus 150 million for social media and less than 15 million for streaming. So it's the popularity of this short form video, and that's why you saw Instagram roll out Reels, right? So now about over 40% of people's time on Instagram is spent on the Reels portion. So when you're an advertiser, not only do you want to be on the app where people have the most engagement, but you also want to be on the right place on the app. So in Instagram's case, it would be in Reels. And so to think about, so that's how much time people spend on short form video. For TikTok in particular, globally, people spend 78 minutes per day on it compared to 48 for Instagram, and I think it's like 23, sub 30 for Snapchat. So Instagram has a highly engaged audience. It's become increasingly popular with advertisers because it has a younger audience, right? So we've seen ad dollars shift within the United States to TikTok. But Instagram remains popular. So I think that the short answer is you'll see gains in share for Instagram in terms of ad dollars, and probably YouTube. Maybe less so Facebook because Instagram still has a younger audience than Facebook. But I think that is the biggest repercussion. But for TikTok itself, the US is 10% of their active users, 20% of their in-app revenue. And they've been growing their advertising business in the US and probably globally. So on an absolute basis, this would be a blow to them and symbolic because if it happened in the US, it could be copied in Western Europe as well.
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea that the proportion of people watching short form video versus social media was so skewed that way.
Yes.
But let me ask you a question from the point of view of an advertiser.
Yeah.
So this is all about, well, where are advertisers going to put their money?
Yeah.
But can you take a step back for me and give me a picture of how popular is social media short form video spending versus other types of spending, billboards, whatever, magazine ads?
So our data focuses on digital advertising.
Just digital,
But
okay.
digital is growing because that's where a greater portion of people's attention is. And particularly within apps, right? Because time on apps and you're kind of trapped. You're looking at the ad, right? So if they place it on your feed or in your Reels, you don't really have a choice but to see it. And because apps like Instagram and TikTok know so much about the user, they can target their ads, right? So they can tell their advertisers, look, our audience is this, we're going to show your ad here where these people will see it. So I don't have the breakdown of digital versus traditional, but certainly digital is growing at a much, much faster rate, and particularly in the mobile space.
I mean, this is a very appealing business model with a lot of growth. So
yes.
Would it be easy for another company to buy TikTok then, based on all these users, all this ad revenue, and the growing platform?
Assuming they could just buy TikTok as is without any other changes, it would be a huge gain for somebody who's trying to grow in this space. Right. Because it's really hard now to grow users. Instagram is growing users. TikTok has seen a deceleration in the growth rate. It's still positive. And then apps like Snapchat are seeing growth internationally, but that's because they haven't been there before. But for the most part, similar to streaming, it's the apps are very saturated, right, in terms of downloads. So you have to think of what can you do to drive that engagement, right? And so Reels and then obviously TikTok have been able to get that attention and drive that engagement. So if you're somebody who wants to be in this space and you're not owned by a Chinese company, this would be a great opportunity for you to get into this.
Real quick, this is the trick question, or the billion-dollar question, rather. Who would be a potential buyer? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I've heard news of a lot of different companies buying it. I mean, I think it would depend also on regulation. I mean, clearly one of the existing social media platforms may want to buy them. I don't think Meta platforms would be allowed to do so, but then you have someone like a Snap or even smaller ones like Pinterest. If they were able to finance such a purchase, that would certainly push them way up in terms of active users engagement and understanding the audience even better because they'd have that many more users to analyze.